The following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, Paige. Good. How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico DeHaan and Paige Clark.
Good morning. I'm Nico DeHaan. Welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world.
To recover our natural health, our rights, and our freedoms. Good morning. I'm Paige Clark.
Beautiful day in downtown Clearwater. 77 degrees, partly cloudy. The humidity's here, but we're going to get some dry air coming in. So all in all, we can't complain.
That's exactly right. Hey, subscribe to our Health Signals newsletter, news you can use twice a month. Great issues with all kinds of clickable links. Here's a copy up here on the telestrator with the great nutrient collapse, and we went over that a little bit on the show, but gave you more details. And you can also pick up some Primal Edge.
You better believe it. Our one-shot wonder, over 310 organic, cell-ready liquid ingredients, all powered by fulvic and humic acid to let the good stuff in.
And we're taking your phone calls this morning.
That's right.
Bright and early, 877-927-6648.
I'd like to go over this article. Whole food prices are going back up. A lot of people were really excited when Amazon took over Whole Foods this summer, in large part because prices at the famous expensive store have appeared to have dropped. I noticed in your neck of the woods, there's a...
kind of on my way
market.
home.
Yeah.
There's a very convenient Whole Foods. And I did see some of the signs, more to come, price changes. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, according to the Washington Post reports, that while some prices were slashed, particularly for avocados, we all know how pricey those are, and almond milk, but the cost of goods at Whole Foods in general have only dropped by about 1%.
Yeah, most of them have remained about the same. There's a few items, of course, that got more expensive. The cost of frozen foods have gone up about 7%. Snacks went up 3.5%. Dairy went up 2%. Some items have remained cheaper, which is beverages, bread, bakery goods. These processed foods don't cost a lot to make, so they probably are.
So even with the new owners at the helm, Whole Foods is still whole paycheck, and it is pricier. And so, shoppers aren't really gaining a lot from this deal, but Amazon is. And according to sources, Amazon.com has amassed $1.6 million in sales from Whole Foods since the purchase went through. So we might not be benefiting, but it looks like it was a good business deal for them.
I guess so. These companies buy companies, and that's what it's all about, to make more money. They're not doing it because they're doing favors to us at any time.
It's a business decision.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited. I told you there's an Earth Fair. You've been shopping at the Earth Fair near you. There's an Earth Fair opening up right near my back gate of my subdivision. So I'm going to be patronizing that a little bit and checking it out.
I really like Earth Fair. The prices are really good, very convenient. People are friendly, so and that's what you want.
Well,
for sure.
Before we go into this next article, I think one of the really cool things, Nico, that you've brought to our attention way before everyone else is when you introduced us to Dave at Adapt 2030. Mm-hmm. And he's been telling us and there's a great video cast. I suggest everyone jot it down and go to YouTube, Adapt 2030, why food is going to be the most valuable commodity, and how the blockchain is going to be involved in cryptocurrency and in exchanging goods. But this new talk, it lets you know that maybe there's a reason, despite Amazon buying Whole Foods, there's a reason food is not going down. Food is going up because it will be the most valuable commodity on earth, bar none.
Well, one of the things he mentions too, and I love David Devine from Adapt 2030, and I recommend people listen to him. He's got a unique perspective on things. He's been buying coffee in Miramar for the last decade
he's
or
credible.
so. He's credible. I like his speech pattern too, because at the end of the sentence, his voice goes up.
You can tell he's been in Asia a lot.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the intonation there. But one of the things he mentioned too is that these food production people are shipping food all over the place. And one of the things he says is going to stop is that, right now it's a credit-based system. In other words, you place an order in, you're on credit when the stuff arrives, and you have so long to pay for it. What's happening in the big food trade, they were saying, is that they're using cryptocurrency to prepay. Because
there's contracts. They eliminate contracts, and that that no money gets shipped until goods are delivered, and vice versa. So it is going to be the future for a lot of exchanges. The cryptocurrency. But I think the key point here is
that food prices are
going up, folks. And really, as he says, start learning how to grow your own food. And most of us can, whether it be in container gardens or whatever, grow much of our salad goods and vegetables. And it's something to really take a look at, or join a group of people. So while we're on that subject, the cringeworthy reason you should toss your reusable shopping bags. We've seen these all over the place. This is
very interesting. Of course, we use these bags. You go into the grocery store and you want to use their bags or the bags that you have at home, so you don't waste the paper or plastic and things like that. Nobody ever thinks to wash these bags. So one of the first things I'm going to do when I get home is wash all our shopping bags, because not that we put, raw food in them, which this kind of suggests here. If you're going to use them, you're bagging raw foods in them. That's not a smart idea. Everything's pretty much wrapped in paper or plastic if it's a fresh food of any kind. But the boxes and things I don't think are a problem. But I think washing your bags is probably a good idea.
Yeah, The Guardian reports the FSA updated their website and consumer guidance section to advise shoppers to use stringent caution in bagging raw foods, ready-to-eat items, and toxic materials like household cleaners in reusable bags. It appears your reusable bags can serve as a breeding ground for the bacteria that cause food poisoning when it comes in contact with raw foods. Are they trying to shove the blame for food poisoning off on consumers instead of their own process? I'm always looking for the twist. Yeah. I'm always looking for the twist. The same rule applies if you're mixing food items with bleach in the same tote bag you've been using for an extended period of time. Well, quite frankly, bleach is disinfecting, so that might be a good thing that's in there. Right. Yeah, it is probably a good idea to give our bags a little bath every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've washed the bags since I've used them. We got 3, 4, 5 bags that we kind of rotate, but it makes sense to me. Another article here called "Most Meat Producers Are Using Antibiotics, and Now Consumers Can See How Much." And this is in the San Francisco area.
This was an article from the Washington Post, huh?
Yeah. And in San Francisco area, they're now going to reveal to the public how much and when antibiotics are being used in the fresh meats.
Well, see, now I would suggest maybe you want to find a farmer that doesn't use antibiotics.
Well, of course, that's definitely the goal. But a lot of the companies are, and this is just in the San Francisco area. We would love to see this nationwide.
They're probably piloting it there.
Yeah, probably so. But I think you need to know. I guess now the rule is if it says no antibiotics, there are no antibiotics. If it doesn't say that, then
you need to know how much.
You need to know how much.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, antibiotics is used a lot in animal feed, but it's also used on humans too. So we're getting like
it's a step in the right direction, though. Yeah, we're starting to say we want some accountability.
Yeah.
So we want you to be accountable to sticking with us, because we got to take a short break.
Yeah, I got a lot of good information about meat on the next segment too.
Sounds great.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Will the S&P 500 continue to climb? For bold trades on U.S. large-cap stocks in either direction, trade SPXL, SPUU, or SPXS. Directions Daily S&P 500 Bull and Bear Leveraged ETFs. Direction Leveraged ETFs. An investor should carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, call 866-476-7523 or visit directioninvestments.com. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
Hey, welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. Here's an article that talks about meat and diabetes. This was from johnbarron.org. I really like John Barron. He wrote a great book, The Secrets of the Miracle Doctors. It was a really good book. This article, though, suggests that perhaps we're having too much meat, and it may be influencing the epidemic of diabetes. And let's see what he says. Type 2 diabetes is an all too common condition, and more than 30 million Americans have been diagnosed with diabetes. What's even scarier is there's probably just as many people that are undiagnosed, and with those that have prediabetes. But according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, these numbers are growing. And there's certain risk factors, Nico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, of course, the general consensus is that sugar and processed carbs cause diabetes because of insulin. But new research suggests there may be another less expected culprit, and that he claims is the meat. Now, this is brought to you by John Barron, who is a vegetarian. Mm-hmm. So he's going to promote that agenda. The reason, well, you sent this to me and you asked me for my thoughts of it. Mm-hmm. And this basically is talking about the difference between what's in plants and what's in animals as far as iron is concerned. Mm-hmm. We have such a thing called the hemi-iron. Hemi-iron comes from living hemoglobin, which is the blood of animals. The other type, which is the non-hemi, comes from strictly plants. Right. The type of iron that gets absorbed more is from animals, and that gets absorbed less is from plants. Mm-hmm. Pretty well known. What they are claiming is that, of course, you eat a lot of meat, you get a lot of this stuff that's absorbed, and you get too much of it, which is a possibility. This test was done on a group of people, about 63,000 people in Singapore. When I looked at the exact tests themselves, mm-hmm. they were merely oral presentations once a year. So in other words, people were asked what they normally eat. then once a year they were called and say, okay, what did you eat this last year?
Right.
And they based it on this. So flawed right away. This is not a really good test. I haven't seen anything else in the literature that really talks about this.
Well, they said after comparing the subject's diet with diagnoses of diabetes, investigators discovered that meat intake was a significant risk factor. Well, I believe what you're going to find is many people that have diabetes are big meat eaters. They're big sugar eaters. Yeah. They're big carb eaters. Yeah. They're going to eat French fries, hamburgers, and shakes.
And there's the problem. You're overdoing everything.
Yeah. They're not looking at the ratios.
And the other thing is, too, of course, when people do these tests, there's never a test or an explanation of where is this meat coming from? Does it have antibiotics in it? Is it sustainable? Are these grass-fed creatures? Is this packaged meat? None of these questions are in the questionnaire from the Singapore report. And they do a lot of testing in Singapore. Chinese health studies have been done almost annually in these areas, and they do a lot of things.
So the call here is, therefore, the takeaway from the current research in this particular case is yet another reason to eliminate or at least cut back on meat in your diet. Besides diabetes, red meat consumption has been linked to cardiovascular disease and cancer. Well, again, he's kind of snowballing on this old research that, like you said, has been rearing its head. What kind of meat? Yeah. And how is it processed? We just talked about the antibiotics
and the meat.
All the
time. Of course, we're feeding our animals the same thing that they're feeding us, the staple of grains.
Right.
That changes their whole makeup. It changes the omega-3 makeup. It changes the balance of the potassium, calcium rate. It changes your whole biome. And when that changes, my contention is that these studies get flawed because you don't make a distinction between the two. So if you're using flawed food for the experiment, the whole experiment is gone, I think.
So again, their recommendation is if you're going to eat meat, stay away from the hemi-iron meats, the red meats, and go with chickens and fish. Yet we've heard the dangers of chickens today with many of the toxic heavy metals and the fish.
We have dangers in every food, so that's why it's so important to know where the food comes from.
Yet I was watching this History Channel thing, the Neanderthal and the Homo sapiens, and how they met up and probably had little love affairs, and here we are. And it was some great graphic presentations that showed early humans going to the seashores and diving down and exploring new areas, and that was really, as you and I have been talking, how our brains grew. Gave us the nutrition, the DHA, for our brains to grow and to become the thinkers that we are. So their comment is cut back on your meats and poultry consumption and focus on adding one fully plant-based dish to your meal per week. I say that's okay.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it. I just don't like the trashing of a certain food group because you are in that other food group, let's say.
Yeah, I got you. I'm with you on that. So I think that the key takeaway here is adequate protein, adequate fats, and minimize carbs, refined carbs.
Yeah, and during the break you were talking about Carol.
I ran into Carolyn.
Yeah, and she was mentioning that the problem with all the people wanting these flour made out of other things than wheat and rye. So they're going to the almond flour, they're going to coconut flour and things like that. And there was a particular problem with those things because they carry a lot of phytates.
Right, the lectins. And there's and she had just read Dr. Gundy's book, The Plant Paradox. And she said she told me while I was eating lunch, she said, this is a good book. And she wanted me to try one of her almond flour carrot muffins. And she had used almond flour. She says, but I got a different almond flour that is made from skinless almonds.
Because the skin is where the problem is.
Because the skin is where the lectin is. So she's going to, maybe she'll come and join us and give us a little synopsis of the book. Well,
I like what she said about it, because the problem with these foods is not that we eat them and they're bad for us, which they are. We eat so much of it. And when these things become a staple, I mean, if you're eating almond flour every single day like you would bread, you're going to have the same problems as with the bread.
A lot of people switch to what they perceive to be a healthier food choice, and it's in fact perhaps not.
Yeah, and this is what a lot of the cookies and the little candies and the
gluten-free,
everything that's gluten-free has these things in it. So my suggestion is just drop those things. Get them out of your life, folks. Eat them once in a while if you want to. If you want to have a little party every Sunday and have a little bread, sourdough bread is what I would recommend. That's okay. It's the idea of that eating these things every single day is the problem. Go to your good meat sources, have a little vegetables, once in a while have a little fruit, and you've got a just nice balance that your ancestors ate. And this is the whole point of the show, is living a primal lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of adjusting your brain to eat the foods that our ancestors ate. And it's particularly if your ancestor is brought up in Holland, like my ancestors have, I have to look at what they ate the last 1,000 years of Holland. Same with you. If they're coming from Russia or England or Ireland or wherever you're coming from, that heritage is very important to you. You have to know what your people ate because it helps.
But like what I'm learning now, is it the food or is it the temperature? Were we cold adapted like the Neanderthals? They're cold adapted. They had big heads. Their brains were even bigger, but they were shorter, had a little more meat on them. And then the Homo sapiens were hot adapted from Africa.
Right.
So it's kind of cool. As Jack Cruz is teaching us, we have to be weather adapted too. Stay with us.
Stick around, folks.
We'd like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full-fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high-definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com.
Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Welcome back to the show, folks. I've got a nice article here that says controversial pesticides found in honey samples from 6 continents. And we talked about honey last week. What a great thing it is. Of course, here it's contaminated. And
time-traveling substance.
Yeah, honeybees on every continent except Antarctica face significant exposure from pesticides, chemicals that some studies suggest harm bees' health. Researchers who tested honey from nearly 500 sites worldwide found that 75% of their samples contained some level of pesticides, according to reports published in Science on October 6th.
Yeah, this is a study that's one of the first to really kind of quantify the effect on a global scale using standardized methods of what these pesticides are doing to these bees. And nearly half of the samples tested contained levels of pesticides at least as high as those thought on the basis of previous research to impair the bees' function and slow the growth of their colonies. Folks, as the bees goes, wheeze goes.
Yeah, they found 2 different types also in about half of the bees. This may explain some of the appearances of bees. The
I think it's
collapse.
Without a doubt. Our bees' colony collapse is a result of pesticides. The extent of the contamination, even in honey from remote places, including islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and off the coast of West Africa, is surprising. An insect researcher at York University in Toronto, Canada, said the findings suggest that bees the world over are exposed to these neonicotinoids, or pesticides, which constantly affects them over generations, which is worrying because the insects depend so heavily on honey for food. So, folks, we've got to start getting involved in letting people know that we really no longer want these chemical pesticides infiltrating our food supply.
Well, it makes sense that the bees are getting it because, of course, bees are going around getting the pollen from plants that we spray.
Right, and making agriculture a possibility for us.
Right, and in urban areas like we are in, then the bees don't have any restrictions as far as where they can fly and where they're going to go, and they're going to sample everything that looks good to them. And if it's covered with some pesticides, it's going to rub off on them. That's how the pollen is exchanged, so it makes sense to me that they get the exchange in something that is not good for them too. So that's a real disturbing thing. Much of the debate on this has focused on just one question: how problematic are pesticides when bees are exposed to them at low levels, but over a long period of time. One of the issues around assessing the impacts on bees have been the discussion of what field relevant level of exposure actually is. So they don't even know what the level of exposure is, nor do we know what the level is to cause the problem itself. So we're really basically in the dark of this whole thing. One thing for sure is honey is really important to us. It was important to our ancestors.
And like we said the other week, they found it in the graves and tombs of kings and queens. From ages on, they believed that honey was a time portal and gave you nutrition not found in any other food source.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at trying to get involved in making sure that we can curb the dangerous pesticide use on our plants, because the bees are taking it back to their colonies, and that's going to impact their life and our life.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I saw here that was I like the way you have a couple of articles we put in here that, discuss. I like to look at how they're trying to come up with a different approach, but you have GM soybean oil causes less obesity and insulin resistance, but it's harmful to the liver function. I mean, it's kind of like a drug commercial where they say, when they're showing all the people holding hands in slow motion, and then they're saying, but you could die of this and that and this and that, there's research at the University of California has tested a genetically modified soybean oil. Keep in mind, folks, soybean oil is the oil in every restaurant you go to. So if you eat any cooked food in a restaurant or you get a salad, most of them are not buying expensive olive oil. We talked about the real olive oil. They got an olive oil Bertolli bottle or whatever, and they're filling it up with soybean oil. That's kind of sick, but it's true.
Well, see, soybean oil is used in all your fast food at restaurants. Some of them use peanut oil, but most of them use soybean oil. It's genetically modified, and it's genetically modified in several bad ways. It really causes a lot of problems. And if you're frying in this stuff, it's really pathetic.
I call it heart disease on the installment plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those vegetable oils in the crinkly clear bottles, which are rancid before you even buy them. And so, you know, despite my takeaway from this article for you is, folks, as you see that they tout the benefits of genetically modified, they should have had you at GM, genetically modified. You know, if it just there's just no benefit to be found, I believe, after those letters are involved. What do you say?
Well, it's, you know, these oils are a big problem. They call them vegetable oils, right? Soybean oil, rapeseed oil, corn oil. Some of them, some of the good ones are probably avocado oil because it can go higher heat. But all of these oils are rancid probably in the bottle. They're all chemically produced at a real high heat. The reason they're liquid is because they're forced into this whole thing, and that's, you know, a real good saturated fat is solid at room temperature.
I can't get over this, though. You know, it's like they said, how it lowers less obesity and insulin resistance, but it's harmful to liver function. They call this Plenish. Notice how they choose these names that sound like they're healthy for you. They're going to call this oil Plenish.
Is this a new oil coming out?
Yeah, that's the one. That's what the title of the article said.
Okay.
You know, it's a new GM soybean oil,
okay,
and they're calling it Plenish. And the research further speculated that the increased consumption of soybean oil in the U.S. since the 1970s could be a contributing factor to the obesity epidemic. So what they've done is they were getting the heat, because in the natural health world and the news that's covering that, pretty much anybody knows not to eat soybean oil. Soy is not a toy for the girl or the boy. So now they're spending their dollars that we probably are supplementing to do genetically modified versions of it, and they fix one thing, and, you know, they take 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Yeah.
You know, they say, oh, this is less obesogenic or whatever, and but it screws up the liver. You know, so.
Well, oil's not the problem in the first place if you have nice, healthy, lard or the stuff that our ancestors used for cooking.
Yeah. Well, so long story short, folks, steer clear of these genetically modified vegetable oils, as Nico and I have told you and shared with you and coached you for the last few years. These oils that are in these clear bottles, cheap plastic crunchy bottles, they're seed oils. They are not good for you. These are the ones that acidify in the bottles and in your bodies, and so stay clear of those things.
What do you suggest people using? When you go out to the restaurant, do you ever ask, what are you frying this stuff in? Or?
Oh, I don't eat. I try to avoid foods.
That's what I do too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And, I sometimes get slack with it, but I have my little kit in my purse. I have my little salt shaker. I give them to everybody,
I
right?
have them. I have.
It's a little refillable, healthy salt shaker. I have this little thing. I put some of my own olive oil, and I just use a lemon on my salad.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And, so I try to make those good decisions, but I guess we can't be perfect all the time. When you're after you eat in a restaurant, go pop some vitamin E. Get yourself a good vitamin E, to kind of fight the free radical that you got from that bad oil.
That's right. We'll be right back, folks. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to the Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
Welcome back to the show. Scientists discover a possible cause of overeating. New research has discovered a gene that could be responsible for some people's appetite. They're always trying to come up with some reason other than eating the wrong thing.
Well, yeah, they're looking. The money is the place to make the money is if you do the research. Well, is this if you do the research and then you say it's a gene, because then you can say to people, it's not your fault, it's your gene. See?
Okay.
And here's
sense.
A drug.
Sure.
There's no, you can't fix it. You're destined for it. But we know that this is not true, folks. Less than 1% of all disease is caused by genes. Disease is caused by the environmental impact on those genes, or epigenetics. And epigenetics is how you move, how you eat, how you sleep, what you drink, the environment that you're in. Yeah. So, relax on that thing. But just realize when we go through this, the motive is to find something that they can sell for billions. But some of the science is interesting. And then you just have to take it and extrapolate. So let's kind of break this down.
Yeah, so scientists have found that how the GTRAP3-18 gene interacts with proteins in the hypothalamus, that's the part of the brain which regulates food intake and blood levels, among other things.
Blood sugar levels.
Blood sugar levels, yeah, can influence how much somebody eats. So, so
eating too much or too little could actually be a genetic problem, quote unquote, rather than an insulin issue. And what we want to say is we can reset these genes, or we can make sure these genes don't express themselves poorly, as Dr. Marshall used to say. Substances or frequencies, certain foods or things that you do, or the way you think, or activities that you do, can help give you the ideal gene expression. We want to express that gene ideally.
Yeah, so what they're talking about, this particular gene, is making it a genetic problem, let's say. This study generally fits in with other research related to leptin resistance. Yeah. Now, leptin resistance is the signal to your brain that you've had enough fat. It's the thing that says you're satisfied. So when this gets disrupted...
Yeah, whether you have stored enough fat. There's enough here, we don't need any more, or there's not enough. And when it gets malfunctioning, you keep piling on the fat.
Right.
It's true. But it's not that you have a gene defect, it's that you flip the gene on. See?
Well, it's perhaps you're overtaxing the darn thing with your daily intake of whatever.
You're looking at blue light. You're looking at this is what Jack Cruz is teaching us, another neuroscientist, that the blue light and the lack of exposure to full spectrum is sending a wrong circadian mismatch to our brains. And that's how we impacting food.
People with obesity often display leptin resistance, meaning the hormone becomes ineffective at inhibiting eating when the body has already enough energy.
The body's all confused. The circadian rhythm is messed up because you're looking at all this light, so your body thinks it's 12 noon 24 hours a day because we go outside, we're looking at computers all day, we're looking at screens, we go home, we look at our big 60-inch TVs that are blue light, and then we sit there with our stuff and look at it. So that's why you got to wear your blue blockers so that your body goes, oh, it's nighttime. I need to start burning this fat.
One study suggests how leptin is transported to the brain. It's the key to determining the cause of overeating. The researchers found that leptin is transported through this fluid in the brain.
Cerebral spinal fluid. That's the fluid that, is constantly pumping and moving.
Up your spinal cord. Mm-hmm. Right, and that obese people's body may be less capable of transporting this hormone.
Wow, that's news to me, though. That's interesting. And other researchers have determined that everything from a cold or virus or a bacteria in people's gut could be the cause of obesity. We know that people that are suffering from obesity often have a gut dysbiosis. So many people with depression are more likely to be obese. And we know that depression has some root in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And
Makes
obesity.
You want to eat if you're lonely.
Right. And obesity can also be the result of medical conditions. There are some medical conditions, some genetic disorders that could impact how you store and use fat. But why do people put on weight again after dieting? That's a big question for people.
Well, they go back to eating what they ate before. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You stop eating this specially prepared food because of the diet, and then you go back to what you're eating, and then all of a sudden, slowly but surely, you gain it.
But many times the body, in addition, like you just said, we might adapt our old ways. What also happens is the body becomes adaptive, and it says, oh, she's not going to give me so much food. I think I'll slow my metabolism down so I can survive on less food. So we've got to constantly be making sure we give the body the shocks so that it doesn't get into that mode of thinking it needs to shut down. That's why I like the philosophy of intermittent fasting, and then one day a week or something you have a feast. Mm-hmm. To send that message to that ancient brain, oh, food is plentiful, you don't need to store it all as fat.
Yeah. Well, it shows, this study shows that there's a lot of things affecting your diet and a lot of things that can make you overeat. Some of the old habits that you used to have.
You and I talked about that, that show, The Biggest Loser.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a perfect example. These people had such success losing that weight, but many of them, when they were followed up with a year or two later,
slipped right back in
and had gained even more weight, most likely due to this slowed metabolism. So I think
it's a whole brain function that's you're stuck into something and you flip back into it. You go to your own lifestyle again. It's a whole lifestyle change, and if you don't make that change in your head, it's not going to work in the body, I don't think.
So I think it was really interesting, though, that article was on MarketWatch.com, which is kind of, but this is the stuff we've been talking about with Jack Crew. I mean, everyone's, in the alternative health world is just so far ahead, Yeah. And it's just the idea that the mainstream is like, since people have been talking about it, they're putting all their energy into trying to figure out a genetic link so that they can create something. That's the only reason they spend all that money, because they want to find a way to prescribe something.
Push some kind of food.
I love kind of trying to dissect it and figure out what the motivation is, So where do we go next?
Well, we're going on a break in a couple minutes, but I just thought this was interesting. There's another thing here on overweight. And one of the things is that 40% of all cancers are linked to being overweight. So this is why being overweight is a problem to begin with, because then you're setting yourself up for other things like cancer.
Because cancer is a metabolic disease.
There you go.
There you go. It's a disease of metabolic inefficiency, as is obesity, as is diabetes. And they snowball and they feed off of each other. So when we get back, we'll discuss the rate of new cancers. And although they've decreased in the United States since the 1990s, but the increases in overweight and obesity-related cancers now account for nearly 40% of all U.S. cancers.
And it's likely, very likely that we're trying to slow this process, but as long as people are gaining weight, these numbers are going to keep going up.
That's exactly right. And I think then when you see this overweight, again, because it is metabolic, then you get into you're going to see that increase in those hormonal cancers. That, the endocrine system, because fat is an endocrine organ, actually.
And the reason that you are fat is because everything's increasing there. You're using more of these hormones. They're kind of going out of whack. They're not sure of how to regulate things anymore.
Yeah. 2014, about 630,000 Americans were diagnosed with a cancer associated with excess body weight. So we're going to go over some studies and give you a little information on that. We're going to take a short break, but make sure to pick up our Health Signals newsletter, news you can use twice a month, and pick up some of the Primal Edge. And we'll see you when we get right back.
We'll be right back, folks.
Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Trader's Edge, heard daily at TFNN.com and author of Mastering Probability, a daily investment and trading newsletter service that I send out each morning by 8 a.m. My morning newsletter service covers exactly what the markets have been doing since last night's close, providing you with an edge on your trading day ahead. You get actionable trading ideas, including the exact entry, stop, and profit targets. Plus, I'll teach you the patterns and hidden market correlations that will make you a better trader. As a subscriber, you'll gain access to my 90-minute money management workshop, where I'll teach you the secrets that'll save your assets. The bottom line, I've got your back, including a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the type of analysis I provide each trading day by signing up for Mastering Probability today. With nothing to lose, this is an offer you should not pass on. Mastering Probability can be found under Trading Newsletters on the front page of TFNN.com.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you're listening to TFNN programming, you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, located in the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV. But if you don't have a connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and call-in talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com, educating investors.
And welcome back.
Welcome back, although I lost my mic, so hold on.
No.
1 second.
Well, I'll be talking. Carrying around extra weight is believed to fuel cancer growth in a number of ways. Increases inflammation throughout the body and alters level of insulin, sex hormones, and growth hormones, all of which trigger cancer cells to rapidly grow uncontrolled. Of course, we know if you're eating the wrong thing, then you become inflamed. So inflammation is the beginning of cancer in a sense, because cancer is an inflammatory disease.
Yeah, and about 2/3 of these people diagnosed with these obesity-related cancers in 2014 were between the ages of 50 and 74, right between us, right? Yep. And rates were higher among women than men, particularly because endometrial, ovarian, and postmenopausal female breast cancers account for 42% of overweight and obesity-related cancers. So we've got to try and slim down and get this,
And rates were also highest in the Northeast. Included.
Huh?
This is interesting. Rates were also highest in the Northeast compared with other.
They don't get any sun.
Well, Northeast, that, and I think extra stress living in the city.
Yeah, living in the city, the stress, right?
Yeah. A lot of things involved here. It's not just eating, folks.
It's about lifestyle. It's about exposure to the outside, and you're exactly right. You know, I noticed that Matt from Vail made the comment when we were talking earlier about perhaps hemi-iron was an impact and free radical, and right. Matt said that he had taken along the suggestion of fitness expert Ben Grenfield and said, you know, donate blood a couple times a year to keep your iron level low. And that's really cool because, you know, Matt, you know, if you've got high iron, it's not as common for men. And so if it is high, that's a great idea. And particularly women, after they stop menstruating, checking that iron level, donate blood once, twice, a couple times a year, can maybe get those levels down. So thanks for sharing that, Matt.
I found this interesting article. There's a high-tech gel that could stop your knees from being arthritic. Let me see if I can find this on the telestrator here somewhere.
Well, the thing about this new gel is it may help prevent the damage that leads to arthritic knees, which, of course, many of us would like to have. And the treatment aims to encourage the growth of cartilage that absorbs shocks. And they call this gel Gelrin C, and it acts as a high-density scaffolding working as a barrier. So that's kind of cool. And
the treatment aims to encourage growth of cartilage, the flexible tissue covering the ends of the bones that acts as a shock absorber and allows bones to glide over one another.
And the problem is that cartilage has a poor blood supply, so when it is damaged or subject to wear and tear, it cannot properly repair itself. Well, you know, that reminds me back when Dr. Wallach, you know, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, said that Harvard was investigating a drug that was going to, and they got 100 men that were going to have knee replacement surgery. And they said, we're going to put these guys on this new drug and see how they do. So they got them all in, and they were all scheduled for surgery. And he put them on the drug, and 90% of them were able to cancel their surgery in 30 days.
Huh.
You know what the drug was?
Coconut oil? What?
Chicken
cartilage?
Collagen.
Oh, collagen.
Yeah, chicken.
That
bone broth.
Makes sense, yeah.
Collagen, chicken skin. Chicken, you know. So they were trying to figure out a way to, you know, make a drug out of it, make money off of it, but you can make it at home. On your weekends, you can make yourself some chicken stock and maybe prevent joint destruction. The other thing I was thinking about is, since we know that if you were having a knee issue, increasing the cayenne peppers or applying a cayenne infused, you know, Robbie Bessner has this ice. It's kind of like a combination of icy hot. You know, it gives you a cool feeling, but it's got the cayenne in it. So if you could apply that to the cartilage. So they say that this 10-minute, for this new gel, though, this acts as a high-dense scaffolding. They actually inject this gel. Patients first undergo a microfracture, where multiple holes are drilled deep into the bone. This is rather invasive.
And then the gel slowly degrades and expelled from the body, replaced by new formed cartilage. So that's pretty cool.
News you can use, folks. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Thanks for sticking around, folks. Bye-bye.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns, as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his opening call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the opening call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
You're watching Tiger TV.